We'll now discuss some issues pertaining to personal privacy and social networks. So far, we have talked about 4 topics that demonstrate the relationship between computing and ethics. We talked about illegal music copying, we talked about surveillance, we talked about hacktivism, and we talked about medical privacy. And these are worthwhile topics to discuss, worthwhile issues that are worth discussing. But now we're going to take a look at issues that pertain to everyday life. We looked at special cases, but what about things that we encounter on a day-to-day basis? So we're going to at least discuss a couple of issues to consider. One issue is cyberbullying, which is the idea of humiliating, taunting, threatening, or even invading someone's privacy online. We'll be looking at sexting, where we have people sending inappropriate messages or images using cell phones or tablets. And then we'll even take a look at the issues of posting something on social networks and the privacy expectations when you post something online. So we'll first talk about cyberbullying, and this can take many different forms. It can involve posting hurtful and insulting messages. It can involve leaking sensitive and embarrassing personal data. It can involve online threats or of violence and physical assault. One popular form of cyberbullying is impersonation, and this is where a bully would masquerade as the intended victim, and this person would post provocative images or knowingly false statements on a social network, a chat room, or even a blog. And the intention behind here is to destroy the victim's reputation and invite retaliation from offended individuals and groups. The post would usually even include a home address and even a cell phone number if possible, just to make it easier for others to find and harass the targeted victim. Now, we would think that the government would come in here and stop this, but the sad truth is that the laws that pertain to cyberbullying just lag behind the problem. Although there are several states, I think there are 34 states that have some form of law or policy against cyberbullying, but these usually apply only to minors and only to behaviors committed on certain properties like school property, for example. Laws that focus on wider audiences, such as private communications between adults, have frequently been challenged and struck down in court for violating First Amendment rights. So people usually try to claim First Amendment rights to say that they can say whatever they want online. So they do complicate the issue. Now, in response, many cases have been prosecuted under other statutes, such as state or federal laws against fraud, bias, or making terroristic threats. But the sad truth about this is that some people have actually committed suicide because of online harassment. So it is definitely something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be something that it needs to be prevented because it does affect lives. Another issue to discuss is sexting. Now, this is a topic that I'd prefer not to talk about, but it is becoming a growing issue, and I do believe it is worth talking about. The whole point here is we have people that are sending inappropriate either messages or images, usually through smartphones or tablets, between people. Now, the thing here is it is legal. There are no laws being violated just yet. I'll get to that in a second. But it is legal between consenting adults. The images that are sent are intended to be private between two individuals. But here's the thing. That doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way. When you send something to another person, they now own it. And do you really trust them with something like that? I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a spouse or whoever it is. This is not something that is, at least in my opinion, not worth the risk, just because of what could happen. Because once something is posted online, it stays on there. So if you send something to someone and then things go south, then they can use that information. They can use those messages. They can use those images as blackmail. They can post it online and completely ruin your reputation. All sorts of bad things can happen when you give out that kind of stuff. Professionals and celebrities have gotten into huge trouble for sending their material, sending this stuff to other people, and then getting it posted online. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of well-known politicians who have gotten in trouble for it. Athletes have gotten in trouble for it. Now, they might not have been arrested or anything, but I do know a couple of politicians who had to resign because the things that they have sent to other people were posted online. So, I mean, is it really worth the risk? In my opinion, it's not. But, I mean, it can definitely cost you your job if you were to post something like this, if you were to send something to someone and they decide to post it online. And then another issue to consider is anything that involves minors. Don't even get me started there. But those kind of things would be considered child pornography, even if the perpetrator is a child. So anything that involves a minor can cause some huge issues. I mean, we're talking about jail time, fines, being labeled as a predator. You don't want those things. So my recommendation here is just to don't even touch this with a 9.5-foot pole. It's not worth the risk, at least in my opinion. The last issue we'll discuss involves privacy expectations, where the whole thing is posting things online through social media sites like on Facebook or Twitter. The main thing I always tell people when doing stuff on the internet is think of the internet like Vegas. Once something's on the internet, it stays on the internet. So anything that you post online may be viewed by anyone and used against you. Even if you post something that's only visible by a small group of people, they can screenshot it and then they can post it to whoever they want. So you need to be extremely careful about what you post on social media sites. I have heard of people getting into some serious trouble posting something on Facebook. You may have heard of stories about people posting something on Facebook and getting arrested because they were being charged of making terroristic threats. Those things can happen, and even if it was a harmless prank post, I still remember a while back when there were a lot of school shootings going around, and there were kids who were making false threats about it. They were joking about it. They got arrested. They got in serious trouble. Even though what they thought was a joke, well, the law and the government did not want to take them lightly. They took it very seriously. So we got to be careful here. Let me give you another example. So there was a student a while back that posted a pretty harsh story on MySpace about her hometown. And she deleted it just 6 days later. It was online for only 6 days. Here's the thing, though. The posting was viewed by a hometown high school principal. And this principal gave it to the local newspaper within that 6 days. And then the newspaper printed it as a letter to the editor. And since this was a small town where everybody knew everyone knew who that student was. Everyone knew who her family was. So that family received death threats. They owned a business. They had to close it down. The family had to move away just because of one post caused that much trouble for an entire family. So you need to be very, very careful about what you post, because anything you put out there can and will stay on there. Even if you take it down, someone else could have picked it up and kept it for whatever reason. Now, the courts did find that the students should not expect any privacy when making posts online. So they went back to the courts and said, shouldn't my stuff be private? I mean, this was on my own personal page. And the courts came back and said, no. You should not expect anything you post online to be private. Even if you make it private, it is possible for someone to be able to view it, be able to screenshot it, copy it, whatever. But you should not expect anything for you to post online to be private. So, I mean, the moral of the story here is do not post something online that you don't want read.